Can a felon be an American president? Now there's a question that's been on our minds, hasn't it? An intriguing conundrum, its relevance is undeniable in our current political climate. This video aims to peel back the layers of the American Constitution and dissect how it treats this very issue. We'll explore the legalities, the debates, and even the potential implications for the upcoming 2024 elections. So, buckle up as we dive into the heart of the American Constitution. The United States Constitution, that sacred document, seems to have an answer for us. It's a beacon of democracy, a guide that has been steering the United States since its inception in the late 18th century. But what does it say about felons running for the presidency? Let's break it down. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution outlines the qualifications for the highest office in the land. It tells us that the president must be a natural-born citizen of the United States, be at least 35 years old, and have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. It's all quite clear-cut. But here's where things get interesting. The Constitution, in its wisdom, does not explicitly state that a felon, someone convicted of a serious crime, cannot run for the presidency. There's no clause, no sentence, no single word that disallows a person with a felony conviction from throwing their hat in the ring. In fact, the Constitution is silent on a lot of things, leaving room for interpretation and debate. Some might argue that this is a glaring oversight, a loophole in the law. Others might say it's an intentional design, a reflection of the Founding Fathers' belief in second chances and redemption. After all, they were rebels and revolutionaries themselves, weren't they? So based on a literal reading of the Constitution, it seems a felon, even one with a high-profile conviction, could technically run for the presidency. They could campaign, they could debate, they could stand on that stage with the seal of the United States emblazoned behind them. They could, if the people willed it, even win. But law and politics are seldom about literal interpretations. They're about context, about precedent, about public sentiment and the balance of power. So it seems a felon can indeed run for the presidency. But is it that simple? Let's delve deeper. The debate on this issue is more complex than it first appears. As we delve into the varying opinions on this subject, it becomes clear that the heart of the matter lies in the interpretation of what constitutes a fit presidential candidate. On one side of the debate, there are those who argue that the moral character required for the presidency should exclude felons. They believe that the highest office in the land should be occupied by individuals of unimpeachable character, those who have shown respect for the law throughout their lives. This perspective is rooted in the idea that the president is not just a political leader, but also a moral compass for the nation. In this view, a felon, someone who has been convicted of a serious crime, might not be the best representative of the nation's moral and ethical standards. On the other side of the argument, there are those who strictly adhere to the letter of the Constitution. They argue that the Constitution is clear in its lack of prohibition against felons occupying the presidency. In other words, if the framers of the Constitution wanted to exclude felons, they would have explicitly stated so. This viewpoint hinges on the belief that the Constitution is the ultimate authority and should be followed as written, without adding or subtracting from its stipulations. They contend that a person's past mistakes, even serious ones, should not automatically bar them from the opportunity to lead the nation, especially if they have paid their dues to society. This faction also emphasizes that the power to decide who becomes president ultimately lies in the hands of the electorate. If the people believe that a felon is the best candidate for the job, then they should have the right to vote for that individual. So, we see that the debate is far from settled. But how does this apply to real-life scenarios? Enter Donald Trump, a figure who has been surrounded by legal controversies. The 45th President of the United States, businessman, television personality, and one of the most polarizing figures in modern American history, Trump's career has been marked by a number of legal disputes. From accusations of tax evasion to allegations of inciting an insurrection, Trump's potential legal woes could have significant implications for his political future. And yet, despite these controversies, Trump maintains a significant base of support. Many of his followers staunchly believe in his innocence, viewing the legal proceedings against him as politically motivated attacks rather than legitimate pursuits of justice. This belief is fueled by Trump's own assertions of his innocence and his claims of being the victim of a witch hunt. The question then arises, how might this affect Trump's potential run in the 2024 elections? Well, it's a complex issue. Trump's legal issues could potentially disqualify him from running for office, depending on the outcome of ongoing investigations and court cases. A felony conviction, for instance, could potentially bar him from holding public office again. However, it's worth noting that the U.S. Constitution does not explicitly prevent a convicted felon from serving as president. The decision would ultimately lie in the hands of the voters and the electoral process. If Trump were to run and win the election, it could potentially set a precedent for future candidates with similar legal issues. On the other hand, the belief in Trump's innocence, held by many of his supporters, could bolster his chances in a potential run. It's clear that for many, the legal controversies surrounding Trump do not diminish their support for him, but rather strengthen it. They see him as a victim of political persecution, a narrative that could potentially motivate them to turn out in large numbers in the next election. Moreover, the polarization of American politics means that Trump's legal issues might not be a deciding factor for many voters. In an era where political identity often trumps other considerations, it's possible that many voters would continue to support Trump regardless of his legal status. To sum it up, the legal controversies surrounding Donald Trump present a unique and complex situation in American politics. Depending on the outcome of ongoing legal proceedings and the public's perception of these issues, these controversies could either hinder or boost Trump's chances in a potential run for the presidency in 2024. Whether he is innocent or not, the question remains: can he run for the presidency again? The 2024 elections are fast approaching, and the question we've been discussing could have significant implications. As we delve deeper into the heart of this issue, it's crucial to understand how the interpretation of the Constitution could potentially impact the upcoming elections, particularly if Donald Trump makes a decision to run again. Let's consider this hypothetical scenario. The Constitution, as it stands, does not explicitly bar felons from holding the presidency. So, if Donald Trump were to be convicted of a felony and still decided to run in 2024, it would indeed be uncharted territory for American politics. The implications of this are complex and far-reaching. On one hand, it could lead to an intense legal battle over the constitutionality of his candidacy. This could potentially draw attention away from other pressing issues that the country faces, and turn the election into a referendum on Trump's legal troubles rather than his policies. On the other hand, if Trump were to run and win, it could set a precedent that allows felons to hold the highest office in the land. This could fundamentally alter the nature of American politics and raise questions about the moral and ethical standards we expect from our leaders. It's also worth noting that public opinion plays a significant role in elections. Some voters may see a convicted felon running for president as a sign of resilience and determination, while others may view it as a blatant disregard for the rule of law. There's also the question of how this would impact the Republican Party. Would they support a candidate with a felony conviction, or would they choose to distance themselves and potentially fracture the party? These are all hypothetical situations, but they underscore the potential gravity of the issue at hand. As we move closer to the 2024 elections, these questions will undoubtedly come into sharper focus. Only time will tell how this constitutional ambiguity will play out on the political stage. So, where does this leave us? We've journeyed through the intricacies of the U.S. Constitution, pondered whether a felon can indeed hold the highest office, and examined the debate surrounding Donald Trump's innocence. We've also speculated on the ripple effects this could have on the 2024 elections. It seems the question of a felon's eligibility for the presidency is more complex than a simple yes or no. But isn't that the beauty of democracy? It leaves room for debate, discussion, and ultimately the voice of the people.